everyone, it is Katie here and we are officially 1 week into Camp NaNoWriMo. So it is currently day 7 and I have 11,300 words. So I've just passed the word count goal for today. Very, very surprisingly, I have actually managed to be a day ahead of my words count goal every single day since the start. Which is something I really didn't expect to happen, because if you watched my last video about doing Camp Nano this year, you will know that I was panicking a lot about this story because it was the first time I was jumping in without a plan, really. However, the one thing I was very certain about with this story was my main characters. I felt like I really knew them well, and so since the start of this story is me establishing these characters and seeing them meet for the first time, it's been easier to write because I knew how I wanted them to interact. So I think that's why I've been going full steam ahead for this first week. It was all about introducing my characters. Now that I've hit the part of the book where stuff is going to have to start happening, this is where I'll probably struggle. Because like I said, I still don't really have an overall plan for what I'm doing. My plot is kind of a mess. So now I'm going to start panicking because the characters have to do things and the plot has to progress and I don't know how to progress. So the next week should be very interesting. This is the first time that I've done a nano without having an idea first. As I mentioned in my last video, it was the characters that came to me first, and I had to try and build an idea around them characters. I know a lot of writers prefer coming up with their characters first, and that's always the first thing they think about, and then they build a story around those characters. I've discovered that that is not the type of writer I am. With every past nano that I've done, I've always come up with an idea first. An idea has always sprung into my mind, and then I've created characters to fit in with that story. That hasn't happened with this one. I had the characters first, and then I've struggled to kind of pull plot ideas out of thin air to try and fit them. And it's just not working out properly. I did say I wanted this nano to be a practice of writing more high fantasy. So far, my story isn't very high fantasy. I've done what I normally do and set the story in our normal human world, but there's something else going on. So I have actually created another world. It's like a world within our own world. So that's the first time I've ever done that. But so far the characters haven't really interacted with it. That'll happen later on in the story. So at the moment I'm not really writing any high fantasy type stuff. So I'm kind of failing on the writing high fantasy part. However, I am still sticking with it because that's what I was determined to do this summer. So I'll keep trying. However, I do think if I'd have gone with one of the contemporary ideas that I had for my characters, I probably would have found this a lot easier because I had a few ideas that I could have really worked with. But I like challenging myself. I don't just like to go with the easiest option all the time. So I'll keep going with writing it as a fantasy story. If I don't like it at the end, I can go back and rewrite these characters in another setting. The one thing that I'm having trouble with, not really knowing my overall plot, is I don't actually know who my villain is. I kind of had a character in mind as a villain, but she's not being introduced yet, and I don't know when she's going to turn up in the story. But I also have another character that I've already introduced that could potentially turn into a villain, so I don't know. At the moment, I don't feel like there's high enough stakes in my story. There needs to be a little bit more danger. There just isn't any of that right now, but we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully I can find a good villain within the next week, or my story is really going to start falling apart. So with the story mostly being about the characters that I created, like I said, I knew a lot about them. So before I actually started writing, I had a lot of conversations that I wanted them to have, but I didn't know where that was going to fit in the story because I didn't have a story. So I wrote loads of conversations and quotes down in my notebook. This is my trusty Camp Nano notebook that has been with me from day 1. I've written loads down in here, and now I'm trying to find places for those conversations in the story. But it definitely helps having a notebook to write down things that you're not going to use right now, but you might use later. So if you're doing Camp NaNo, then just write down everything. Always have a notebook near you because you don't know when you're going to need it. What else I've had helping me throughout Camp NaNo so far is the writer's workbook. This was sent to me by a friend last Camp NaNoWriMo, and I used some of it then, and I've gone back and used some more of it again this time. This is great for setting out your novel, getting to know your characters. It's also got some good activities at the start if you don't have a solid idea to work on as well. So for anyone who's doing Nano or will do Nano in the future, then I definitely recommend getting this book. So yeah, I've had my notes to help me throughout this past week. I don't know how much good they're going to do me in the next week because, like I said, I think things are going to start falling apart. I mean, fingers crossed I won't be a mess in a week's time when I hopefully film another video. If I don't film another video, you know I've had a complete emotional breakdown and I am crying over my story, or lack of story. So please let me know how you're getting on with Camp NaNo, if you're taking part this year. Have things gone better for you than you thought? Or have things gone worse? Let me know all of your writing woes in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye!